I'm having a birthday coming up, and I remember when I couldn't wait. I used to measure my age in 6-month increments. I'm 7.5. I'm almost 13, practically a teenager, Mom. My very first job out of college, I worked with my boss, and he asked me one day just casually, he said, well, how old are you? And I said, I'm 21. And he said, nobody's 21. Nobody's that young. You see, I was a research assistant for the National Council on Aging. That's when I realized that age is very situational. Now, I worked for a particular part of the council's work, and it was the Institute of Industrial Gerontology, and you may want to take notes. This is the study of the relationship between aging and work. Now, for men, that becomes an issue around 45 or 50, but for women, it's 35. I said, you have to be kidding. That is my preferred age. I love 35. You can do anything as a woman at 35, have children, become an astronaut, train for the Olympics. I mean, just anything you can think of. And then to find out that you're already going to be discriminated against, that doesn't seem right. So that's when I started to have my war with chronological age. I think it's overrated. I mean, really, why do we put so much stock in it? What does it really mean? I mean, I was a baby boomer, so I was born and I was the youth generation, and that was all cool and hip. And now we're just old and expensive. So there you go. I'm taking a closer look at this, and I'm thinking maybe we need to reconsider some things. I do not like the way our society treats people as they get older. Instead of respect, we get neglect. I mean, just look at what happened during COVID to people in nursing homes, right? So I think maybe we need to do something about this. And I remember when I was in my commune in my 1970s, we talked about having an old age commune when we got older. And we thought it'd be so cool because then we could have young people take care of us, especially attractive ones, I have to admit. And then, we'd pool our resources, we'd have a great place, and we could travel, and there'd be someone to take care of our pets. It seemed like a really good idea. But somehow that hasn't happened yet. I'm not really sure why. Maybe we've just gotten set in our ways. I think the thing that bothers me most in some ways is that as a woman, as you get older, you become invisible. Excuse me, I think I was ahead of him, that hunky dude. I live in the Castro. Now, I have to confess something here. Honesty does not run in my family when it comes to age. My mother actually would not tell me her age. I tried to sneak a look at her driver's license in her wallet, and I don't know what happened. Either she hid it or she stopped me or what, but I never did find out her true age until she died at 69, which was far too young. Then there was my grandmother, her mother. Now, I was doing a little family history research, and I found out that between 1920 and 1930, that census 10-year period, she only aged 8 years. Now, I think she was probably looking for a job, and that probably helped for her to look younger, but there you go. And then there's my favorite, my great Aunt Josephine, who ran off at 17 and joined vaudeville and was very successful on the Orpheum circuit, and she was in a duo called the Sugar Plum Girlie and the Marshmallow Boy. Until a young man in the audience saw her on the boards, fell in love, and they married and traveled the world and ended up in Uruguay, where he became a successful cattleman, and she became a grande dame speaking fluent Spanish and French. And I found their wedding certificate. And on that certificate it says they are both the same age, even though I know she had to be at least 4 years older. I got the message. It pays to look younger, and when necessary, it's okay to make some numerical adjustments on your age. So that's why I call it my preferred age. Now, I am thinking about having another birthday party, but I'm not sure whether to celebrate or to avoid. You see, I love to celebrate myself, like the song says, enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. But I hate the reveal, the age reveal. I mean, most of my friends know better than to ask, but sooner or later it comes to that. And it's funny because I am more comfortable coming out as bisexual than revealing my chronological age, and nobody likes a bisexual. It's just a fact. So, I don't know. I think that when it comes to getting older, one of the things I've noticed about as you get older, you start talking more about your ailments to your friends, right? Your head, your neck, your back, your knee. I should really get a knee replacement, but I can't decide what to have it replaced with. I'm thinking of a nice lava lamp. And then there's trading cards. Have you seen this guy? Have you seen her? This one uses bells. I mean, there's just so many possibilities. And I thought I might escape some of this talk by hanging out with some of my younger friends, but now some of them are going through menopause. As it turns out, it is still true that mothers do not discuss menopause with their daughters. I don't know why, but maybe it's like childbirth, just too painful, don't want to go there. Don't worry, I'll be your guide. First of all, we have hot flashes. Now, you can call them power surges or blooms, but either way, they suck. True story. My friend Eileen, an attorney in Los Angeles, and she's wearing her most impressive power suit, and she's in front of the judge and jury about to make her case, just like Perry Mason would if he'd been a she and was a divorce lawyer. And all of a sudden, she breaks out into this tremendous sweat from head to toe, and her beautiful silky blouse turns into onion skin pressed against her breasts with a river running through it. And whatever remedies you try may help, but you can't tell if they're going to be bad for you in the end. In my era, everybody was into soy, and look what happened there. And then there is sleeplessness. Now, this comes back in older age too, but then words that you couldn't remember during the day come back to haunt you. Like credenza. Why was I even trying to think about that, except that I'd forgotten the more simple word bureau? Or let's see, my second cousin's name, or what I had for lunch, or trying to spell things, even with the help of spell checks. I never was a good speller, and I always was very forgetful, and this used to really annoy my mother. She'd say, Lee, what are you going to do when you get older? I said, I don't know, Mom. Maybe I'll start remembering things. I'm waiting. So far, it hasn't happened. But the important thing is you just have to press on. I mean, I would like to say one thing, though. Please, if you want to have a birthday party for me, don't make it a surprise. I was trying to break up with someone once, and they threw a surprise party for me. That was really awkward, but boy, was I surprised. Now, I would love to have a big party right now, but I can't because I am filling up boxes and boxes and boxes of my shit because my wife is going to be moving in with me for the first time in our 14-year relationship. No, wait a minute. Wait a minute, make that 17. I didn't forget, I just got the numbers wrong. I'm bad with numbers too. Now, as it turns out, I've always thought that you should live together first and then get married. But we've actually been married for 5 years. But the problem is, her job was over in the East Bay, far away at a park, regional park, and mine was at San Francisco State, so the commute was too bad. So though we got married, she kept her place and I kept mine, and the agreement was when she retired, we would combine households into my tiny little house. So now I have to get rid of everything. So she can move her living room into my basement. So I'm just filling up these boxes with my whole life. I mean, everything, all my scholarship, my teaching, my plays, my books, everything, they're going out to the recycling. And I feel like, you know, all that stuff, it's like an external memory drive. If that's gone, will I be able to remember anything? Did it really happen? I mean, it's my life's work, and there it goes, bye. I mean, I don't know, I'm having a little bit of anxiety about it. So I'm thinking, this really brings up the issue of maximalists versus minimalists, or hoarders, in other words, versus simplifiers. And I've been critical of hoarders until now. But I'm thinking, you know, I might need that book, and that letter, I might want to save that for posterity, and I never did get around to reading that article. I'd really like to. And, you know, remember what Joan Didion says, if you don't keep track of those past selves, they can really come back to haunt you. And I'm thinking about that too. So, I don't know. I think you all have to decide in your life, not just me, I'm doing this for all of you, you know. Are you going to be an accumulator, or are you going to divest of some of this stuff? And I'm beginning to understand now why people keep it all, because it kind of makes you feel safe. If I accumulate all this stuff, I won't die because no one's going to want to deal with this shit. I'll be safe. And I'll just have it all around me, and then gradually I'll just step into a big Amazon box and decompose, put the lid on, slap a label, and then somebody can just self-return, and somebody just send me back. After all, it's free shipping. That'll be it. Or there's another option. You can be a simplifier. Get rid of everything. Your house will look like an embassy suite for the lack of personal touches. Now, you might want to just keep one thing. I'm going to keep that little ceramic ashtray that I made for my dad at camp. Just glazed, green glazed, a little turtle in a pond with a little indentation for the cigarette. My dad kept that on his desk at work where people could see it. Or wait a minute, did somebody give me that at a writers' conference in Cuba? In the end, all we really have left are our memories, or do we? I went to visit my stepmom, Nell, after my dad died at her assisted living place in Florida. She never wanted to be there, but you know, she couldn't afford to get back to Minnesota or Michigan. And she didn't want to go anywhere. She just wanted me to come and have dinner with her and her friends. And so there's like 3 or 4 women and a man, as you would expect. And we're all sitting around this table, and we're introducing ourselves. And Trudy turns to me and she says, so, where are you from? And I said, San Francisco. And she said, I'm from, I know that place. I visited there once. I love to travel. I'm Canadian, just Canadian. And then my stepmom, Nell, said, I was married to 2 doctors, but not at the same time, of course. But your dad was more fun, and he liked you better than your sister. Yeah! So then we went around like this, and everybody said a little something about themselves, and then they served the salad, so we ate our salad, and then Trudy turns to me and says, so, where are you from? And then we went around again, and everyone pretty much said the same thing. So I started to think, what will my memory loop be? What will my life get condensed down to, this little kernel that I repeat, over and over again, so it just makes this little groove? I spent most of my life in San Francisco as a writer, and I used to be a professor. I never had children except my students. I married late in life and wisely to a woman. Not yet. Almost. We're not running over time. Okay. So the hardest thing about getting older is that when I go to put together that list for my birthday, there are people missing. It's losing people. I always used to come to I always used to come to New York, and I had people to stay with. My friend Sue, who I met at that first job in New York, she had a rent control apartment on the Upper East Side with an extra little bedroom. Now, it was tiny, and the window was an air shaft, but I lived there for a year on my sabbatical. She was about 10 years older. She was like my big sis. She was the best. She passed away during the COVID. And then there was my friend Carol, who was a colleague of mine at San Francisco State, and she moved from San Francisco State to the new school and had this really cool apartment on Gramercy Park, and I used to stay there till she sold it and moved to a 55-plus community out on Long Island. There you go. So, things really happen and change quickly. It's like that song says, it goes by quicker than a wink. So now I think about all those people that I may have lost touch with over time, especially people that I knew way back when. So if you've got some people like that in your life that you might be thinking about, but you haven't reached out to, you may want to do that, because I hate finding out about those things when it's too late to say goodbye. My dad was dancing when he died. He was showing the hostess a new dance step. Keeled over with a massive heart attack, died instantly. He was doing exactly what he wanted to do, where he wanted to do it, Florida, with Nell and his friends. I had just talked to him right around that time, and he'd said he'd had a physical, and the doctor said he was in great shape. He was 77. It was difficult for the people he left behind, but what a way to go, Dad. I hope I'm so lucky. Aging is something we do our whole life through, from the moment we're born. And if we're lucky, we do it well with a little help from our friends.